What's up, guys? This is going to be a long video for my Scraptec prototype. I just got this in today. This is a run that I'm doing in collaboration with Randy over at Korbanth. So Randy did the run, I designed the saber. In this video, I am going to show you the saber in detail, show you how to completely break it down. We're going to go over how I weathered it because some people have asked me what my weathering techniques are, as elementary as they may be. I go through the entire thing, we'll weather it, then we're going to sit down and I will show you how to install it with the chassis that I came up with and that I will provide the STL for on this run. So very excited to show this off. Thanks for watching. Let's get into it. Hey, what's up, guys? So this is a breakdown of the prototype for the Scraptec. This is a hefty boy. Let me weigh it real quick. It is just shy of 2 pounds 7 ounces. If you can imagine that in your head, it's a preemie. So a hefty boy. It is pretty big. It's a two-handed saber. I do have a few sabers to put for comparison. Like this is my custom Ocularis, right? A little bit longer than the Ocularis. All right, and then this is a custom scrap MHS saber that my buddy Benji made and he gave to me. So it is quite a bit longer than the scrap, but a little bit longer than the Ocularis. You've seen pictures of me post it while holding it, but that's what it looks like. Get it all in the camera. So hefty boy. This is going to be a breakdown video. We're going to cut the video, go weather it. I'm going to show you guys how I weather, and then we're going to install it. So that's the plan for today. I don't know if I'm going to get that far yet. We'll see if I put the video out. So a few things going on. There's one tactile switch in here just because I wanted to test it. It is actually meant to be a 2-button setup, but I'll show you how that looks. So first thing being, these are just copper bars. They will need to be glued in on the final assembly. You can kind of pull those out there. So we're going to put all of our parts in here so we don't lose them. You just take it, pull it back, work it back and forth, and they'll pop out, twist it. All right, that's what these are. You can feel free to replace those with braided wire or whatever you want to do, but you know, one goes here and the other one goes here on both. 2-button setup. So this clamp card is aluminum. It is held together by 2 little flathead screws. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take those screws all the way out and stop being lazy and put this in a handle. I put 2 little flathead screws here to hold the aluminum clamp card in. Let me get in camera. So one here and one on this side. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and take those out. You don't have to take them all the way out for assembly or for installation, but because I'm going to weather this guy, I'm going to go ahead and take it out. I got to get it to where I can see it. They are some tiny guys. All right, and you don't want to lose those because you need both of them. So luckily that's magnetic. That's going to go in there. Take this one out as well. That goes in the jar. All right, and then this slides out. Don't worry about my little tactile switch in there for testing. The aluminum clamp card. So we're going to weather that guy. That of course comes with the saber. All right. How I designed it in here is there's 2 shelves, one here and one here, designed specifically for brass hat tactiles. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to fit it with my finger in there. Very nice. I put it in there with tweezers last time, but yeah, just like that. So you just want to insulate it, glue it down, and of course your wires will run right into there. So one here and one over here. All right, so we'll drop that out for now. We're going to go ahead and we're going to take this piece off. We'll switch over to this. These are all Phillips heads. I thought about asking to switch over to hex heads, but I liked these just fine. All right, so we're going to take these out. You will need to do this for not particularly this one, but the other 3 will need to come out for installation, and I'll show you why. All right, so we'll unscrew that. And plus I'm going to take all these when I weather them, or when I weather this hilt, I like to take all of the hardware and heat stain it, and I will show you guys how I do that. All right, so pop this off here, a few more turns. All right, I want to make sure that I don't lose any of those 4 screws. They are tiny. All right, and then you'll see your wire passage goes straight to the chassis right there. All right, flipping it over here, this is an OLED screen holder. So we're going to take this off as well, and then I'll show you how you can put an OLED in there, or that's what it's meant to be. I had one person already say they were going to modify it to hold a an array PCB from Shadowfoil Props or something like that, because they weren't huge fans of OLED screens. So that would work obviously as well. It would look pretty cool. You might just have to model something and put it in there for a holder, so it looks like, you know, that it goes exactly there. I don't have any spares of those, so I got to be careful. We'll break this down. Grab those 2. Let me grab an OLED screen real quick. So, OLED holder. All right, that's what I designed. This will be the first time I'm putting one in it, so hopefully it fits. Fits in there exactly like it should. So this particular one is from KR Sabers. You'll probably want to make sure you have that kind because OLED screens can come in different sizes from different vendors. This one was specifically designed for the KR Sabers OLED screen. Of course, I've got the plastic still on it. All right, but I'll take that off when I assemble it. But we'll take that off and put it off to the side. So that's what those 2 look like. All right, we'll put that here and here. Flipping it over to the bottom, you have your crystal chamber. This is a little crystal chamber designed into the saber with a cutout, and the sabers will come with a polycarbonate crystal. So you could feel free to use that, or put a real quartz crystal in there. You've got cutouts in the handle for some LED strip animation. So one over there and one over there. Of course, you can see through to the other side, right? In every saber that comes from me, there will be a USB drive inside the box. That USB drive will have the Scraptec sound font that my buddy Keenan over at Kaseth made for the Saber. You'll have one for every major soundboard, just like you bought it from him. You'll also have STLs for a Profi chassis, a CFX chassis, and I probably won't do Verso or anything like that. So just Profi and CFX, all right? So you'll need to get those printed, whether you do that yourself or through a service, but the USB stick will have STLs for all of that, all right? The pommel is made out of brass, so it gives it quite a bit of heft on the back end. Solid brass, so we're going to be weathering that also. This is kind of like an anodized finish. I don't know if I want to weather that yet because I kind of enjoy just having the handle black. I may do some scratch ups when we're out there weathering it though. All right, and of course, you know, you've got 2 holes here for grub screws. These are for chassis retention, so that you can grab your chassis nice and even. All right, so coming over here, if you look right here, this hole right here, and this hole right here, these are 2 grub screws, and this is what holds the chamber in place. All right, so first we'll break this down. I went quite a bit of threads up top here just because, you know, for swinging this around and bashing it on things, you won't have to worry about it being a thin neck, but this is all brass. This greebly comes out. This greebly was actually supposed to go down into the Blade ID for a blade retention, and this one doesn't do that. It's even with the blade ID, so I might just reach out, and that might be one change that happens with the actual run. All right, but we'll put that up to the side here. We'll take this one out. All right, we can slide this whole thing out. So you just have your brass core. All right, we'll put that off to the side. This was meant to be steel, and I think that it is. I think I can tell that it's steel. So that piece is steel. We're going to take that off real quick. I'm going to go get the proper tool. All right, you take the bunny ears off with these 2 screws. I'll put those 2 screws in here. Bunny ears are made out of aluminum. This entire assembly falls out. So you've got black anodized core and the steel emitter ring. All right, so I'll put those in there. This emitter, or this piece right here, is made out of, this is aluminum. All right, so we'll put that over here. Coming back to the main switch section, so you, remember, it goes this way, the handle being over here. We had our OLED screen right here. We had our switch system right here. This piece right here is made for a small LED strip. This guy right here. All right, so we'll take this off real quick. Swap out my tool again. Make sure I don't lose these 4 screws. And that is where, that's your wire passage, again, going to the chassis. All right, with this guy recessed on the inside so that you could wire this up. Of course, this is just a example strip. It's not cut for the exact length, but you just wire this up, slip it right in, put a little bit of E6000 or something in there, and it will stay right there. And you'll see that from the outside, so you could put it like a piece of diffusion material right here or something. That's almost the right size anyway. But that's what that is for. All right, put this off to the side, put this in here. And then we need to take the crystal chamber out, which is these little grub screws right here. You can slide this out. And that's basically the crystal chamber core. And you've got the upper and lower pieces for the crystal that go in here. They are adjustable. So, you know, this is of course being the one that came with it, but whatever you decide to put in there, you can adjust these to a certain degree and then tighten them up with these guys right here. All right, so we're gonna pop that out. And that is basically all of the pieces. Now I will take this out to the garage and we'll give it a good weather. All right, welcome to my tiny garage. Let me take my watch off real quick. I've got this phone set up the best I can to try to show you guys what I do when I weather. Weathering is a funny thing in the community because everybody does it different. There's really no, well, there's a few wrong ways to do it, but no really like right way to do it. I like to wear gloves because I mess with aluminum black. One thing I did off camera, because I thought it would just be boring to watch me do, is I took a red Scotch pad. I used these. I went through and I scratched everything up. All right. You want to make sure you go different directions. Don't go one direction. You know, try to mix it up. But I did every piece. So this one, I did all the brass pieces, all the small pieces, everything. Everything's been kind of scratched up with this guy. All right, and we'll put this off to the side. I've got a red bucket here, if you can see it right off camera. It just has cold water in it. I took all of my hardware and I put it in this vise. I like to put it in this vise and line them up like that so we can heat stain them. And I'm gonna do that right now. First thing, that way it can cool off as we're doing everything else. All right, we've got some map gas here. A good flame, and then I'll just hit these up. Hopefully you can see it on camera just at the edge. I don't want anything shiny. And that's probably good enough. This is cool enough. I can bring it over here and show you. So, you know, they're all a little bit different color, which is what I wanted. You don't want them all the same color, but they've all been heat treated now. So, heat stained rather. So we'll put that off to the side, let it cool down. I've got this little container here that I have been using for years. All right. And all it is, it's my container of aluminum black. So, I don't ever dip my parts. Now, as soon as I said that, I'm going to say there's a little caveat. 3 parts that I'll dip, and I forgot to do these bunny ears. So we'll do these real quick. 3 parts that I'll just dip in there will be these bunny ears and the 2 faux switches. And then I'll pull them out. All right, but we'll scrub that a couple different ways. Get the front and the back. Doesn't have to be perfect, but you do want it to be scratched up so it actually takes aluminum black. This saber doesn't have any coating on it. It's bare aluminum, which is something I specifically asked for. That way it would be easy to weather. All right, so all scratched up. I'll kind of just take that guy and dip it in. I'll keep the threads out of the liquid, but I'll dip these in too. All right, I'll have to take those bunny ears and kind of move them around a little bit. But already, I don't know where the camera's at. I'm not used to doing this, but like already I'm getting what I want there. This one's looking good. I'll just put it off to the side here. These bunny ears look fine. All right. I'm not going to kill that reaction right away, so I'll just put them off to the side. Maybe the clamp card too. Most of the time though, I'll take this brush, and I've been using this brush for a long time, and I'll just brush it on where I want it. All right. Set that off to the side and let it do its thing. One piece at a time, man. Brush, brush, brush. Suppose you can just dip it in. I know a lot of, some people who do that, not a lot of people, a couple, 1 or 2, they just throw it in the bucket. Whatever you got. I never really cared for that. I feel like I get a little bit more control this way. Using the brush, I can see exactly where it's going, where it needs to go on some more, where it's been enough. I know that one's looking pretty good if you can see that, but most of the inside's not been touched. All right, we'll do it with this one too. This is the LED strip. That's why you need gloves. Apologies if you can't see. Try my best. Now on this crystal chamber, I just scratched up the front right here and here. I didn't do the back because you won't be able to see it in the saber. All right, so I'll just put a little bit of aluminum black on there. I did scratch up the inside though for behind the crystal. If I can't get it with my brush, I'll do it like that. All right, so I can get the inside. Put that off to the side. These little crystal, top and bottom crystal greeblies. Real quick. Didn't get on the top too much, so I'll just brush it on. The switch section. Go ahead and do this whole thing, but not the threads. That's another thing too, is like the brush is super helpful. You can keep a majority of the aluminum black off the threads. All right, put that off. We'll do the shroud. I need to do the inside just a hair because you'll see that. I think I forgot to hit that with a Scotch pad, so. There we go. So we got the top half that you can see. Of course, you won't see that inside there because that will be in the brass piece, so we won't worry about that. Do this brass. Flip it this way so I stay off the threads as much as I can. Stay out of the inside of the blade socket. So, we need to get this too. Actually, you won't see that, so that's okay. We'll put that here, this piece. I'll go ahead and get the inside here because you'll be able to see it from the outside of the saber. It's black now, but it won't be soon. And that's pretty much all of that. So it might be done with the aluminum black. Put the lid on it and save that for next time. Now we'll go through one by one. We're going to kill the reaction in the cold water. Just dip it in the cold water. Bring it back. I like to dip my Scotch pad in water as well. And just kind of weather to your liking. Every once in a while, dip it back into the water so that you can see what you're doing. I do this part I'll do right over the bucket because I keep on dipping, but I'm trying to, as much as I can, keep it in camera. There's one little spot right here. In the back. And that's pretty good for that piece. And then we'll move on to the next one. Just remember to dip it in the water to kill the reaction when you think it's had enough, and then you can get to scrubbing on it. If your pad wears down, just grab another one. You might go through a few small pads. I like cutting them small like this so I can get in tight spaces and just kind of work it. That was pretty good. A little tricky to get in there because of those little tube bump outs, but that's okay. Okay. I'm gonna switch up a pad. There's that one. Do the brass crystal chamber. So everything on this can be scrubbed pretty clean except for the face. Hit that piece up just a little bit more. I'm gonna leave the inside black. Each of these. This one is the bottom one because it has a cutout for a Neopixel accent. The other one does not. We'll get the underside too. Pommel. Well, it's looking decent. The brass neck. Actually won't even see this part, so I'll go ahead and scrub it clean. Get in here. That's about how I want it. And then I've got this guy, a few more pieces. Put this in here a little bit, almost forgot. Last big piece. I'm going to switch to a brand new scrubber. I waited a little bit to kill this reaction, so this one taking a little bit more elbow grease, but it's no problem. Get in there just a little bit. Now we just do the small pieces. Whoop, there it is. This guy. And then the bunny ears, which is one of the first pieces we did. Okay, so we weathered them all, except for the emitter ring. We're gonna heat stain that, but we're gonna do that here in a second. What I like to do now is I'll come through and just wipe everything down, dry it up, and just give it a good wipe down. So it will really let me know like if it's how I want it or not. All right. While I'm drying it, if I find a spot like that, I don't know if you can tell on camera, but that's a little dark. It's a little darker right here than here. That's where I can just kind of come back through and touch it up just a little bit. Dry it off, and I got rid of that, so I'm happy with that. The shroud. Clamp card. Switch box. OLED screen holder. LED strip holder. Our bunny ears that we just did. Crystal chamber holders. Our buttons, our faux buttons. So that's pretty much it for the aluminum. Now we can take this and wipe my mess down. Hang this up. Over here in camera. Take these off now. And these should be cool enough to just take off and throw in our... I opted not to weather these two copper pipes. Get all those in there. I did come through, I decided to weather the handle just a little bit with a little bit of sandpaper and just kind of knock off some of the hard edges. All right. I'm not going to do anything with this guy. This is the inside emitter ring for this. This is the steel piece, but we do need to heat stain this. All right, first thing we want to do, let me go get I have a special pipe. I actually don't have a special pipe, but we can use this one. I don't know what happened to the other one. I probably cut it up and made a saber out of it. But before you heat stain, a lesson I've learned the hard way is you want to come through and wipe this guy really good to get all of the fingerprint oils off of it. And we're just going to kind of slide this on here. We're going to heat stain it like this. So just pay attention to, depending on what kind of finish you like. I tend to like this kind of finish on my heat stain, so mostly silver with a little bit of blue towards the back. And then I didn't worry about it so much here because that's where it clamps up on the inside to the shroud and the bunny ears. But everything that's exposed has what I like. And then I'm just going to set that on my vise and let it cool down before I take all these off or put them upstairs. And then the next part of the video, we'll go through and install this guy. All right, let's finally get to installing this thing. Here is the chassis that I came up with for this guy. This is going to be a Profi install for me, a Profi V3, but I'll have a CFX version. It'll be the same, just with a bigger or a wider board tray. But we've got some LED strips in here, solo sabers here for me. It's a removable battery, kill switch, another LED strip over here for the handle area, right? 28mm speaker. What else do we got? I did a lot of prep work before this video, some things that I thought would just be boring to watch me do. So nothing where you would need to know anything, right? I just pre-wired a bunch of components, honestly. So we've got everything here. I did glue the provided crystal onto one of the crystal pieces, and then on the other one that's the bottom, I went ahead and I glued in the Neopixel accent, and then I pre-wired my OLED screen, glued it in there so we didn't have to wait for glue. I did go ahead and wire up and glue in my switches. Right underneath those switches I put a piece of heat tape, so like this, just to insulate the solder joints from the aluminum. Small piece right under there, and then they're glued right to it. All right, so that got that pre-built, and then I went ahead and I pre-wired my my LED strip for this guy. So it is a 10 pixel strip. I put a piece of diffusion in there, and then I put a piece of heat tape right over the strip, so none of these, I don't think it would touch, but just in case, it doesn't hurt to be safe. I went ahead and I did that. All right, so we could get right to installing this guy. Put the pieces over here. The saber's in as many pieces as it was in when I weathered it, minus this guy. So I went ahead and I put the, I gotta remember where the camera's at. I put the bunny ears on along with the steel emitter ring and the inner core. Lock those in. Other than that though, it's in the same amount of pieces that it was when we started. So just to get rid of some pieces, we're going to go ahead and put the pommel on this guy, lock it down. I wish it was all that easy. The handle's ready. All right, we can come over here and work on the crystal chamber. So if you are confused about what side is up, let me unscrew this real quick. I was just cutting some wire and I needed to know my length. If you're confused on what side is up, either this side or this side, you can just kind of put it in here and look. So that looks like that, or if we did the other side, that doesn't look right. That's not lined up. So you know that this piece right here, the thicker piece, goes over here towards the threads where the handle's at. And it will go in and line up like that. All right, so that's what we need to do. We need to keep that in mind when we're putting in the crystal. So this is the bottom piece. It's going to go in first over here. It does get locked down with this grub screw right here. This is a very, very tiny grub screw. I did ask for these to be swapped out, but I'm going to tighten them the best that I can, and then I'm probably going to put some CA glue in there too, just so that they don't wiggle around. All right, but let's go ahead and lock these down. So we got that in there, and then we can come over here and put the top on. Remember, the top is the one that doesn't have a cutout for the Neopixel accent, unless you like doing it the other way, which you definitely can. All right, so we've got that in there. Go ahead and lock this down. That's nice and tight. But if we look at this, now if you can see that in the light there, we've got the crystal all in there, it's locked down, we've got our Neopixel accent, so it's good to go. What we can do is we can come over here and we can drop this in the main core. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and drop it in the main core. Make sure that crystal chamber is lined up so the arms of the crystal chamber are equal on both sides. Kind of hold it there, and again we're going to want to come lock these two guys down. All right, this will be interesting because this is obviously my first time installing it, so hopefully it goes to plan. My saber, my chassis, so I cannot complain about the installability. Now the crystal chamber is locked down. You may notice if you look in there, where's that camera? There it is. We've got 3 different wire paths here we can use. They're going to be for the switches, the OLED screen, and also lastly the main blade connector, which I'm going to use a KR Sabers Eco one on this one because I like it. I have a bunch of them and I want to use it. All right, so first let's do the switches. So we've got this switch right here. These holes need to be facing, you know, if the saber was facing up, then these 2 holes, they need to be over to the right hand side. All right, so just go ahead and snake the wires through for this. Like that. Put that right there. I need to put it like this so it doesn't fall. Swap out the bit here. Do a Phillips. Remember all those tiny screws that we saved in our Tupperware and heat stained? They're all right here, okay? So one by one, we'll just come lock this in. Wrong bit. There we go. No need to over crank. Just make sure it's tight. You're good to go. Whoops. We'll do diagonal sides and then we can do the opposite sides. All right. All right. One more. Give all these a little bit of one more snug twist, and we're good to go. As our switches, we're gonna put the other 2 things on, and then we'll go back and we'll put the switch plate on. All right, but we're gonna go with the OLED next. It might be a little tricky, but it's all right, we'll get it. Let's cut these even. There we go. You're going to want to put a little hook on the end of this so that it can get past what it needs to get past. Something like that. Hopefully you can see that. put it in there and then just kind of turn it. Alright, a pair of tweezers. Feed it through until you see it coming out the other side like this. And now we're good to go. Alright. I don't like pulling on it because I might strip a wire, so I'll just continue to feed it until I feel comfortable. And it should be good to go right here. So now we can come through and we'll tighten these up. Alright, give them all one more little snug turn here. Coming around here to the LED strip. Again, I'm going to cut these flush. Put a little bend in it. I can feed that through there. Just see it coming out here. Kind of pulling on one end as I feed the other end. Do it gently. Alright. Feed that wire in there. And we're good to go here. So we can come through and tighten these up. One more. And we'll go through and snug them up. Okay, so far we've got our switches in, our OLED screen, and our LED strip. Let me swap out the bits on this guy. I already put my little grub screws back when I was prepping all the parts. So I got that little grub screw here and another one here, right? We can take our switch plate, slide it on until it stops. Good to go there. So we'll tighten these little grub screws out on the clamp card so it doesn't move. Test one more time. It's a little too tight. Tightened it a little too hard, so just give it a little bit of slack. There you go. So enough slack. I'll tighten it up just a hair. It's going to be a fine line there. Okay, we're good there. All right. I'm going to glue these in last because I don't want to worry about them as I'm installing, but we will get to these at the very last thing. All right. I've got my main wires for my blade connector that I need to go ahead and run through this core because the wire passage through this core is it's a bit much. All right, so it's going to take a little bit of patience. And we got our datas through there, get our negative through there. Yeah, it's not too bad. I don't want to say that quite yet until I get this one done. All right, that one's through there. So at this point, what I'll do is usually take a piece of heat shrink, and I'll make sure these are all even. You can even lock down that heat shrink if you want, so it doesn't go anywhere. All right, we'll come through here. This neck is a beast. Wire poking out there. All right, you get to right here, just kind of crank down on this neck, because when the install is done, this really doesn't come off. All right, we can grab our wire and bring it up. The other two didn't come up with it, so that's okay. Here and here. We'll go ahead and wire in our Neopixel connector while we're here. That way we can just take up the slack on the bottom very easily. Take our holder first. I want to just test it real quick and make sure it's going to slide in there with no problems. Yeah, we're good. So we're going to put that there. Let's come through and tin these guys. All right, tin this. Let's move this out of the way. Grab this and put it here. Alright, we got those wired up. Glue it into the PCB holder. And before I lock it down, I need to put some glue in there for the PCB holder. All right, put this in there. bring it down. Where's the camera at? So we've got our blade connector in there with the holder. At this time, if we wanted to come through here, we could take this guy and put it on. This is held in place with these two pieces right here. So this is the bottom one. Top. This is supposed to be the blade retention. I'm asking for this to get lengthened a little bit because for right now it sits flush with the idea of the blade socket. So the prototype here is not going to have a blade retention, but this was designed to do that. So I'm asking for that change. All right. That way you don't need a tool. But when you lock that down, lock this down, there. I mean, we've pretty much got everything wired except for the chassis now, so we can just start attaching it to the chassis. But before I put the chassis in here, I like to put this off to the side. There's some things I want to do to the chassis before we attach it to the Saber. All right, so I've got my different battery terminals here all wired up. I've got my LED strips all wired up. I've got some diffusion for the LED strips, my speaker, and my kill switch. Once we get all this in there, then we can move forward. All right, so we'll just do one LED strip at a time through this hole back here. Might have to grab it with some tweezers, that's okay. That LED strip will go all the way in, but before we put it all the way in, I'll take this piece of diffusion and slide it right over the front of it. And you can see it going over the strips one by one. All right. Just kind of push it all back there. And I don't like how long that is, so I'm just going to take a little bit off. Like that much. I don't want that sticking out from the speaker area. And then I'll put a little bit of, for me I like to use CA glue. You may not want to use this stuff unless you are absolutely positive that's where you want it to be, because once that dries, that's not coming out. All right, but we've got all that diffused. Now we can do the other side. Same thing. All right, I'll slide that in there and then put the diffusion material in there too. All right, that's all the way in. I'll make sure that's all the way in. Yeah, way all the way in. Go ahead and glue it down just a little bit. All right. For the battery tabs, I like to use E6000. And I'll just put a little bit like right here. All right. going to take this and snake it through the kill switch hole right here. Alright. While we're messing with the kill switch, we'll go ahead and glue in the positive battery tab real quick. Again, just a little bit of E6000. The reason I have two lines coming off of this, one goes to my board, one is for all of the other LED accents. All right, the main blade and all of the accents. Just, I find it easier to wire up that way. Do it however you want. All right, we got that in there. I'm gonna cut this wire down to size. That one didn't want to come loose. Slide this in there. Blow on it. I like to put these about halfway in and then just a little drop on each side. Not too much or you will ruin the kill switch. So you can just hold it in there for a second. Actually, while we're holding it in there, we'll take the other line from the kill switch and run it straight through to the board area. Should pop out right there. See it? All right. Pull it tight. So that's good to go. Now we can come over here and put our speaker in. Just a little bit glue along the rim here. There it is. That's the chassis right there. I got everything wired in. LED strip, we got I think about an 18 pixel LED strip on each side. More than enough to light the side vents of the handle, plus we have it diffused so it's not going to look weird. So what we can do, we'll start like moving these off to the side. All right. Move this off to the side, off to the side. Do this off to the side because we have a lot of wiring right here that needs to go through that chassis. So what I like to do is I'll just come over here and be like, okay, we can all bring this to about right here, and I could probably cut everything right here. Make it nice and even. Now it's nice and even. All right. Make that flat. It's gotta all go through there, and instead of trying to put it in there one by one, you know, we could just hopefully get it in there pretty easy with this. Oh, I forgot to take a piece of support out. That's why it's not going through. That was a sneaky one. I didn't see that one. Oh, let's get that one. Let's get that out of there. Yep. And there's one more in there. Yep. There it is. That little guy. One more in there I can see. Right there. That was a big one. So yeah, make sure you get all your support material out of your chassis. And it will slide right in. Clip into there. You want to make sure, we're going to make sure our board is lined up. I want mine lined up with the switch box, right? A nice even line. So when I feel like I've got that down, come over here. There's two chassis retentions. They are M3 screws. All right. I'm all out of short ones. Of course, the prototype didn't come with any. So I'm gonna bite down pretty hard on this chassis. Ideally, you'd want some shorter ones than what I've got in here, but that's okay. This is mine, so if I do something to the chassis, I'm not too concerned. To find the right tool. I think I have the right one. It's this one, but it's a little stripped, so I gotta find a different, see if I got something else laying around. Maybe not. I think I'm gonna have to make do. Now let's see what else we got. Got this handy kit right here. Probably should have been prepared for this, but we'll make it. Too big. These have been dropped, used and abused so much. Here we go. Let's try this one. Yeah, that's the one. Tighten that down there. Over here and tighten this one down. Now we're going to take a quick pause before we go any further, and I'm going to clean my desk because it's, I don't know if you can't see all the tools, but I got a lot of stuff laying around and it really bugs me. I'm going to put everything back where it goes. While we are wiring the board, I'll go ahead and I'll glue these in so I don't have to worry about it anymore. All right, so a little bit in there, a little bit in there. Let that sit up. Let's get this in there. Snap that down into place. Now these will go ahead and cure while I am wiring up the board. I'll take a short break. I'll get something to drink, come right back, and we are going to wire up this Profi V3 and then hopefully fire it up. I already pre-programmed it. The only thing that may be weird is my OLED screen might be upside down. I never know which side is up until I see it turn on, but that's an easy enough fix in the config. I can still see that it's working, and be right back. All right, this next part, I'm not going to explain how I do the wiring or how to wire up the board. If you guys made it this far in the video, this would be extremely boring for someone who doesn't install. So I'm going to take a guess that if you made it this far, you're an installer and you know what you're doing. So I'm just going to wire it up and you guys can watch me do that. How I programmed the board was, of course, first my blade, second will be my crystal, which is the orange one right here. The third blade style will be this guy right here. The fourth blade style will be, I'm going to wire these two in unison. All right, so that's pretty much what we're going to do now. You can just sit back and critique the technique. I'll try to stay in camera. Sorry about that. And it's a little late here. My lighting is not the best. My window, usually I get light from the sun, and that's usually how it works. But it's late. It's almost 8 p.m. We're doing what we can. these power lines over here. Okay. We got the OLED left, and then we need to splice together all these positive wires, but I'm going to do the OLED first to get it out of the way. Especially it's nice on the V3 boards. It all goes to the same side, so I'll just bring that over like that. All right. SCL green. Popped up on me a little bit, so we'll just bring it back down. There we go. SDA. Okay. Bring this over here. We need to check that. Put it to the back. And there's a reason for that. So I'm going to take all these here. We're going to splice them together, and I left enough room in the upper portion of this chassis where you can splice all these, put a piece of shrink over it, and then shove it back in here. There's a hollow point in here for all your wires so it doesn't get in the way. All right, so that's what we're going to do. Fire it up and see what happens. That's hot. In the dark. Now, I'm going to glue that board down, but before I do, I'm going to make sure everything fires up.
On directory not found. SD card.
Put the SD card in it. That would help. Crystals pulsing. We got good OLED animation over here and over here on both sides of the chassis. So everything's working good. Before I enjoy that too much, I'm going to glue the board down. I try in all of my chassis to give enough room here to pull the SD card out and to use a 90-degree data cable. And if that can happen, which it does 99% of the time, I'll go ahead and I'll glue the board down because there's no reason to have it floating up. All right, so board access, SD card access. There's a lot of wires underneath this board, as you saw. So we're just gonna kind of tuck all that in. Good night. I'm gonna hold that here for a little bit. But that is the Scraptec all installed. So I will have a very limited number of these available for purchase here in about a month or so, maybe just a few weeks more. Randy over at Korbanth will have some for sale because Randy and I went in on, like, we worked together on this run. I designed the hilt, Randy did the run. So he'll have a certain amount, and then Rick over at Goth 3 Designs will have a very, very limited number. He is designing a master chassis for the Saber, and so there will be that option, and then I'll be installing 10 of those for Rick that he'll probably have for sale. All right, but that is basically the Scraptec. I want to hear what it sounds like with the handle on it, and then see if those LEDs line up. So we'll flip it on.
I hate it here.
The Scraptec sound font by my boy Keenan over at K-Sith. So LEDs are lining up there, lining up over here. You can see that. I don't know if you can see in there. It's too long to show you, but oh yeah. So that is how you break the saber down, weather it, and then install the saber with a Profi. I really appreciate you guys hanging out. I know this is a super long video. Haven't done one of these full tutorials in a very, very long time. So I do appreciate you checking it out. I'm very excited to put this out into the community and see what people think about it and see what people do with it. But anyway, you guys have a great rest of your evening, and may the force be with you.